Daf Kuf Mem Aleph Amud Aleph, the Mishnah 4 lines from the top. Zok the Mishnah Hakash Shagave Hamito, if there's straw on a bed. Now the straw we're talking about is straw that's normally used for fuel. It's used to burn ovens and stoves, etc. So that straw is muksa. So therefore, lo yananenu biyada, he cannot move it with his hands because it's muksa. Ella menaneh begufa, but he can move it with his body. He can move it with his body. He's doing an indirect movement of the davar muksa, which is mutter. So the Gemara later on will see that refers to this as a form of tiltman etzad. But strictly speaking, the Rishonim say that it's not tiltman etzad, it's tiltal begufay. Tiltman etzad is only mutter letzorach adovar that's nitl b'Shabbos, not for the purpose of a dovar that's muksa. Here, he's moving in an indirect manner the dovar muksa itself. So over here, the reason that's mutter is because it's not only indirect, he's moving it with his body. He's not just moving it in an indirect manner with tilt min etzad, which is only mutter ledover letzorach dovar hanitl. We'll see why the Gemara compares this to tilt min etzad. We'll see this in the Gemara. Al kol panim, he can move with his body, and therefore there's no isser of the tilt with the muksa in this matter. But if the straw itself was machal behema, so it's not muksa, you're allowed to feed your animal on Shabbos. Therefore, it's machal behema, or shalav korasadin, or if you put a pillow or a sheet on it, meaning that the intent to use this straw is not for fuel, not to burn, but rather to use it as a mattress or as a pillow, then it's not muksa. Then menaneh biyada, he can move it even directly because it's not muksa. Machbesh balabatim, if there is a press. So similar to a press that we would have for clothing, they had two boards, the way Rashi explains it, two boards that were heavy boards. One, the clothing was on the bottom one. They put the heavy one, the top one on top of it, and they screwed it on the four ends and to hold it tight. So if there was this press, machbesh balabatim, which was not done in such a professional manner, matirin, you can release it and remove the clothing. Avaloi kaishim, but you're not allowed to press it on Shabbos. You're allowed to release it but not press it, because pressing, the nature of the pressing is that it has to be held there for a long period of time in order to press it. It's therefore being done for after Shabbos, and you cannot prepare from Shabbos to after Shabbos. So this is the machmish, the press of balabatim, which are not done in a professional manner. But v'shal kaisen, the ones that the launderers use, lo yigaboy, that is, he cannot even remove the garment from it. Even that is also to do it. So that is also even to remove it in the shal kaisen lo yigaboy, he can't do it at all. And the way Rashi explains it is because over there it was screwed in so tightly. It was laundered and pressed in a professional manner. It was screwed in so tightly that it's considered to be boinem, and undoing it, releasing it, is considered to be seiser. Meaning, it's considered to be fixed in place. It was screwed so tightly and held there for a long period of time. It's considered to be like a structure, and therefore releasing it is demolishing. Pressing it is being boinem. So, but Rabbi Yehuda Shabbos matter is kol v'shnayta. But Rabbi Yehuda says if it was partially released from before Shabbos, then you can complete it. You can remove the garment on Shabbos, remove it and complete it. There is machlekes, is Rabbi Yehuda arguing with the Tanna Kama, or is he explaining it? Now, the way we explained it according to Rashi, l'chera, it would make sense that it's an explanation, it's mustaber to say it's an explanation, that it's only considered to be baina if it's fixed in place and it's secure, then it's baina, and undoing it, releasing it is seiser, is demolishing. But if it's already partially released from before Shabbos, then it's not considered a binyan anymore, and therefore you're allowed to release it. So that's the way some learn that Rabbi Yehuda is being mefarish to Tanna Kama. Others learn that's machlekes. That really maker then it should be correct of the way Rabbi Yehuda is saying, and even the Tanna Kama would agree to that. However, that he's geyser And the Tanakama says unequivocally you can't do it because one would confuse it to a case and interchange it to a case where he didn't partially release it before Shabbos, and they learn that it's machlekes. So the Gemara Amar of Nachman, Hai Pugla, a radish, Melmala Lemata Shori, Melmata Lemala also. If you have a radish that was already been picked from the ground. So the issue over here is we're not dealing with being kaitzer. It's not growing from the ground, it was picked from the ground, but then a person buried it in the ground to preserve it. Part of it is protruding and sticking up. Now the radish, the way it's formed, it's wider on the top, it's narrow on the bottom. So now if you put it in the ground and the wider top, the wider part is facing up, so then he can pick up the radish from the exposed part and he's not going to be moving the earth. But if it's the other way around, if it's upside down, so if the narrow part is on top, the wide part is on the bottom, when he picks it up, the wide part is on the bottom, it will lift up the earth as he picks it up. So he's being metaltal the earth. The earth is muksa. So that's considered to be tiltal of a davar muksa. Now even though it's indirect, but Rav Nachman nevertheless says that it's also. So Amar Avada Bar Ahava, no, Amar Bei Rav, Tanina, like Rav Nachman, we learn not like Rav Nachman. Because we learned it in the Mishnah said, Akash al Gabi Amita lo yanana biyadoi, avamena begufa. It says, the kash, which is muksa, you can't move it and carry it directly, but through his body, indirectly, through his goof, it's mutter. Vim hayam marchal behema, oy shaylav kara sadin, then minanea biyada. But shmamino, we see from here that tiltum min atzad lo shmei tiltul. Shmamino. You see conclusively over here that tiltum min atzad is lo shmei tiltul, and therefore, in the case of the radish as well, in Rav Nachman's case, it should be mutter. Now, as we said before, the reason that it's mutter in the case of the Mishnah, even though he's being metaltal litzorach davar she'ena nitl b'Shabbos, is because it's begufay, it's not min atzad. And here the Gemara is equating it with tiltul min hatzad. But the Meforshim explain over here that the reason is that we equate it is because in this case of the radish is tiltul min hatzad letzorach davar hanitl, for the purpose of a radish which is not muksa, which is nitl. And that's the equivalent of the tiltul begufay letzorach the davar which is muksa. So there the two are equated. In the case of the Mishnah, he's being metal to guf the davar muksa, for the purpose of the davar muksa, to remove the muksa, not for the purpose of davar nitl. In the case of Rav Nachman, it's tiltul min hatzad, but it's for the purpose of a radish which is a davar nitl, so the two are equated. And you see that this type of indirect tiltul is mutter, so in the case of radish, it should be mutter as well. Amar Yehuda, Hai Pilpulim made a chada bekata the sakina shara. If a person is cutting peppers and he does it one at a time with the handle of a knife, it's mutter tate aser. But doing two is aser. So cutting is teichen, that's a malach. But over here he's doing it with a shinui, but it's a double shinui. He's doing it with a shinui that he's doing it with the handle of the knife. That's number one. And number two, he's also doing it one at a time. So in that type of a shinui, it's mutter. Rav Amar came in the Mishane, he says, no, since he's doing a shinui with a handle, afila tuvanami, even if he does more, then it's still mutter. It's still allowed to. That shinui is sufficient. Mishnah Berurah explains, however, that's only if he's doing it l'boy b'yayim, for Shabbos, but not for after Shabbos. V'amar Rav Yehuda, man d'salchi b'maya, person who was toivel in the water, and now he's coming out of the water. Lingish nashe b'reish water listik. So if he's toivel in a lake, and now he's coming out, he should dry himself first before he starts walking. Dilma asal asuyar ba'amas b'karmelos, because the area of the lake is on the shore, or on the seashore, is a carmelis. Usually it's a carmelis. Now, if he's wet, then he walks, he might come to walk Dalit Amos in a carmelis, which is also. So he should dry himself first before he starts walking. One might ask, well, if it's raining, how can you walk outside? You're wet and you're carrying the rain. But since in that case, it's very unlikely that there ever will be a shiur, and therefore we don't have to be chayshish. Well, if you're concerned about walking and being wet, so when he walks into the water, he's pushing the water. When he goes into the lake or the sea, he's pushing the water, and he might push at a distance of 4 amas. And why is that considered a problem of carrying dalet amas in the Carmelis? Our answer is that's only koicha, that's only indirect. And koicha bekarmelis loy gozer. They weren't geyser, the koyach, carrying through koyach, they weren't geyser. In the case of a Carmelis, they weren't geyser. Amar Abai v'tem Rav Yehuda tit shel gabe ragloi. If a person has clay on his foot, mekanch bekarka vein mekanch bekaisel, he can scrape it off on the ground, but not on a wall. Amar Rav my time bekaisel. Why are you saying that he shouldn't do it on the wall? Mishum demerse kebayna. Well, he's plastering. It looks like he's adding clay to the wall. It looks like he's building the wall. It has the appearance of thickening the wall and building it. So it's like boina. So, but still, habinyan chakloa, that's a building that just to put mud and put it onto a wall and scrape mud onto a wall. That's not a professional building of any sort. The only one who would build that way is a peasant. So that's not called boina. That's not in the category of boina, just throwing mud, sticking mud onto a wall. Elo Amaravi says the opposite. Opposite. He can scrape it off on the wall. That's not a problem of binyan, but he should not do it on the ground. Dilma also lashui gumas, because there might be a hole in the ground, and he might come now to fill up that hole, and filling up that hole is considered on the ground, is considered to be a charisha, a chayrish. So therefore, it's just the opposite. He should not do it on the ground. Now, Taisa says, even though this is a davar shein miskaven, and Rava holds that davar shein miskaven, he holds like Rosh Hashanah, and then he holds it's mutter. But we're afraid over here, Rava's geyser, that he might come to do it intentionally. So he might come to do it intentionally. Therefore, he's geyser in such a case. You should not do it on the ground. Itmar Marbre the Ravino Omar Echad V'Zev Echad Zeh. He says both on the wall and on the ground, they're both awesome. They're both awesome in both cases. The wall because of boina, and the ground because of his ashugumais. So if that's the case, we'll see in what manner can he do it. But in this way, both cases he says is awesome. Rav Papa says both cases are mutter. It's not considered baina. We're not concerned that he might come. Lashli gumais. But according to Marbre, it said they're both also. Well, how can he do it? He takes a beam, a block of wood, a beam, and he can scrape it off on the wood. A person should not sit on the edge of the mavoi by where the lechi is. The mavoi, the side street, the alleyway, if it's open to the Rishus Harabim, it's mutter, you can carry over there. If it has nitter belechi v'kayer, if it has a vertical post or a cross beam, then if it's nitter with a lechi and a kaira, you can carry, but a person should not sit right at the edge of the mavoi. Why is that? Dilma min gandri lechevetz vaslasuya. The object that he has might roll away, and it might roll outside the mavoi into the street, into the Rishus Harabim, and it might come to carry it. A person should not, when he wants to set a barrel on the ground, so they used to situate it, set it in place, and twist it and turn it back, one side to the other, back and forth, in order to steady it on the ground. But Rava says on Shabbos, you should not do that because he might level out the ground. He might come to the Asher Gumay, so therefore it's also. He says that you should not take cloth and you should not pack it in and squeeze and pack it in tightly on the opening on the mouth of a jug. Because you might come lidei schita to squeeze out the liquid, and schita is of course also on Shabbos. It's told of dash, mefarka told of dash. Or it's also a problem. It could be a problem of kibbutz, of laundry. Omer of Kahana, tit shal gabi bigdai, if he has clay that's on his garment, he can rub it from the inside, but not from the outside. If he rubs it on the outside, then it's libun, he's laundering it, and therefore it's a malach of libun, which is also, but from the inside, he can rub it from the inside and not from the outside. If he has tit on his shoe, he can use the handle of a knife or the back of the knife and to scrape it off. If it's on his clothing, he can scrape it off with a fingernail. But he can't rub it. My love doesn't this mean that he can't rub it at all? You can't rub it from the outside. But from the inside, if he does it, rubs it from the inside and it falls, and therefore the dust falls off or flies off, or the dirt flies and falls off, then it's mutter. The Tur says that this is only a case if the mud is lach. But he says if it's already dry and hardened, then he says you can't scrape it off in any which way because it is a problem of teichen. You're grinding it. It'll come to break apart, and it's teichen over there. So therefore he says it has to be talking dafka where it's moist, where it's lach. But the Rabbi Akiva Eiger on the Gilyon Shulchan Aruch asks the kasha, this mud was soft, and it was hardened, and it became hard. So you have a case over here where it was ground up. It was one clump, and it became soft, and then it hardened. So now, even if he is crumbling it, there's a principle of ein teichen achar teichen. There's a principle of ein teichen achar teichen, so you wouldn't be chayav for being teichen regardless over here. So therefore, he asks on the Torah that we should not make this distinction, and it should be, even if the case of the tit is already hardened, but still, it's ein teichen achar teichen.